We're living through unprecedented times because of COVID-19.
This is a time where we have to step up in the medical field, and we have to show, even if we don't have the answers to the questions, we're still looking, we're still searching, we're thinking outside the box and trying new things.
A lot of people are wanting to support small businesses in this time of need, and so seeing that, a lot of people coming just to buy gift cards, knowing that some businesses are struggling.
Forced to close to keep the coronavirus from spreading.
COVID-19 has shown us that we have to be nimble, we have to be ready to change.
It's people over profit. We have to think of our community before we just start, trying to make money.
Children throughout our community challenged to learn outside the classroom.
We never came back from spring break. I had all these plans. For example, the vehicle you see here is Olathe Police Department cruiser that we're building as a lowrider for the Olathe Police Department, and it just all kind of stood still. So it was just really surreal.
What this has shown us is that we were not prepared. We weren't ready.
It was very difficult because our whole world changed just immediately. Boom.
A tough shift for some of the older members of our community.
We don't get to go to funerals for friends we lose. We don't get to go to graduations, birthday parties.
The isolation and the virus impacting people old and young.
I'm 45 and I'm going to be a widow.
Started with a cough and a little fever, felt achy and tired, and then it just went to the point where I didn't want to take care of myself anymore.
He was on a ventilator for 18 days.
Doctors and nurses are doing their best to beat this pandemic and save lives.
Don't make me cry. And I said, we need you. The girls and I need you.
Business owners and educators are getting creative in spite of the circumstances.
In this time, when there's a lot of uncertainty, there's an opportunity as well.
You have to start thinking, how is it going to be most effective to make sure that our kids get the same education that they would being in the classroom.
Through tragedy, this community is seeing triumph in the face of this pandemic, issuing a call to band together.
When you choose to live in a community, you have an obligation to other people in the community.
And while you may not get very sick, somebody who you love may.
When the going gets tough, the real leaders step up.
The biggest part is just having faith that things will get better. And we have to have that hope. If you lose hope, you lose all, I think.
We're going for a walk in Dr. Tony Zink's shoes.
This is a time where we have to step up in the medical field, and we have to show, even if we don't have the answers to the questions, we're still looking, we're still searching, we're thinking outside the box and trying new things. I think at the beginning we fumbled a lot just because we didn't know.
Now, if you make a trip to the Samuel U. Rogers Health Center, there are temperature checks, masks at meetings, and the nurses station, a new normal because of the novel coronavirus.
Hello. Initially just having the PPE, like the masks, the face shields, the gowns, the gloves, having those things in short supply, we'd never experienced that before. What this has shown us is that we were not prepared. We weren't ready.
As schools and businesses shut down, Dr. Zink was forced to make the most difficult decision of the past few months.
The hardest day, driving my kids to Texas. Yeah. Don't make me cry. Yeah.
Why?
Sorry. It was hard because I love my children. But I'm making a sacrifice, not just for them, I'm making a sacrifice for my patients. Tell me if you have any pain when I touch your head.
She's taking it one step at a time, clocking countless hours at the health center in the fight to slow the spread of COVID-19.
Again, it forced us to step up. We had to put a team together that just went out to do community testing. We started out with a measly 120, and now they're sending them in by the thousands. I will say that the MPCA, that's the Missouri Primary Care Association, they have done a wonderful job getting PPE for us through the government. So once they were able to get to that supply, they've been giving us everything that we need.
Healthcare workers in our community are confronting the coronavirus head on, fighting to save lives.
I learned that I'm resilient When the going gets tough, the real leaders step up.
Dr. Zink knows her dedication in this journey comes at a cost, but even now, it's a price she's willing to pay.
The best decision for them was for them to be with my parents, because my parents can give them that one-on-one attention that they so desperately need right now while I'm giving attention to the pandemic. It feels like a good sacrifice of love.
It's quiet in this garage, not unlike schools across the country.
We never came back from spring break.
Eric Arazo is an Army veteran. He worked as a mechanic, but he needed a job.
That landed me at Olathe North High School about 17 years ago, and I just never left.
Right away, he noticed something.
And there was a lot of kids here that I felt that needed to belong, needed to be a part of something. And I wanted to give them that because I didn't have a positive experience in my education as a young person.
Arazo cruised through night school, earning his bachelor's and master's degree. In the midst of all the twists and turns, things were looking up.
There you go, Manny, show them what's up. Oh! Big part of being able to reach our kids is to understand them, and just being around kids is how you're going to get to know what they're doing, what's going on in their world.
So he launched a club, linking students with mentors they may not have met without flashing lights.
Maybe they didn't like the police. Well, what were those interactions? What did they look like? Were they ever positive? But I also thought about in the perspective of the police. Have they had positive interactions with our students?
Now, they're not only building relationships.
We were able to put the LED lights and put this bike together. There's even a thin blue light detail here that a lot of people, don't even notice. They're so very detail oriented.
They're building lowrider bikes and a foundation for the future from getting to know one guy behind the badge.
A lot of our kids wanted to be police officers after meeting him because they saw him as an individual. So it was huge for him to know them.
It's breaking down more than a bad paint job, but barriers that have prevented communities of color from connecting with first responders and law enforcement hand in hand.
And we plan on putting some fire extinguishers in the back. I had all these plans. For example, the vehicle you see here is Olathe Police Department cruiser that we're building as a lowrider for the Olathe Police Department.
Parked, like the program, because of the coronavirus.
And it just all kind of stood still. So it was just really surreal. But as we look forward, you have to start thinking, how is it going to be most effective to make sure that our kids get the same education that they would being in the classroom. And my biggest hope is that I can get those guys in here in a safe way and that we can work on these things together and continue to have those relationships.
Arazo believes this program is a shining reflection of what kids can accomplish with their hands as he focuses on their hearts.
But to hear what they have to say and what they're thinking and how this is affecting them, because it is a big deal. It's something that's massive right now that's happening that our kids might need to talk to somebody.
How you guys doing? Come on in.
This brother and sister envisioned something different here.
In the beginning, it was going to be just a silent partnership, but I said, you know what, brother? I think you need me more than just as an investor.
The two rebuilt this space, from the framing to the facade. Jamal wore a mask then.
What can I get started for you guys?
Asia and everyone else is wearing a mask now.
Brown sugar blazing, so second sauce.
Counting on unconventional superheroes from our community.
Our customers are really coming in. They're showing up. They want our food. They're receptive of the measures we've taken.
Brown Sugar Chicken and Donuts opened off 38th and State Avenue in December 2019, just months before the coronavirus pandemic.
Blueberry with Fruit Loop or just regular?
Now, at the restaurant, you'll see gloves, masks, and face shields. Plus,
we serve chicken, many different ways.
A chicken and donut sandwich, yep.
From classic glazed to M&M topped, they make lots and lots of donuts.
It's just a bunch of deliciousness that everybody keeps coming back for more.
Thankfully, they can.
Once we closed our doors as far as dining in and just doing carryout, we noticed the numbers just weren't making sense for us. So we felt like taking that break, closing down, figuring out the best strategy to do carryout. So we took a 2-month break and then we came back, and ever since then it's actually been a lot better.
We actually took that opportunity to do some training. We took that opportunity to take a break, and we took an opportunity to redo some of our menu things. It also put us in a position to come back, better than when we opened.
First time in? Welcome, welcome.
Jamal and Asia were denied a Paycheck Protection Plan loan. Money, though, wasn't their only challenge.
Shutting down was to be safe, but not reopening earlier was because we couldn't find the staff. COVID-19 has shown us that we have to be nimble, we have to be ready to change.
I got a wind-up fry.
As they look back over the last few months, there's a new focus on the sweetness beyond their struggles.
It's people over profit. We have to think of our community before we just start, trying to make money.
And this time, when there's a lot of uncertainty, there's an opportunity as well.
Here you are, be number 43.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Isaiah 41:10.
Shirley Mueller starts every day with scripture.
So do not fear, for I am with you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Oh, the fresh air is wonderful.
Most days, and there have been a lot of them, with a walk, too.
I am 77 and a half. And proud of it.
She's a mom of 3, grandma to 6, with the pictures to prove it.
Here's one, Kathy and Ashley.
A full life that came to a full stop because of the coronavirus.
It was very difficult because our whole world changed just immediately. Boom.
Early reports warned about the danger of the virus for older people.
And all the numbers and everything made me very anxious, as it did everybody. And it was hard to understand it even. And for older adults, our grown children say, don't go out.
Inside, you see reminders that this is a stress-free zone, despite the sudden distance.
For a little while, I started feeling kind of isolated, as we don't get to go to funerals for friends we lose. We don't get to go to graduations, birthday parties. You can't hug each other. And older people really need hugs. We do.
Mueller still wants to choose happy and make the most of every moment she has.
I don't see my grandkids as much, but 2 of them came over and we went to the nursery. And one of the things that's helped me is the tree that's behind you.
Something living at home to remind her of the beauty of life.
I need to get out of my apartment more and fellowship with my neighbors.
Like Miss Pat.
Hi. Living in a senior's apartment and talking to other people, you'll find that older people are fearless.
They're also the picture of peace in the middle of this pandemic.
God has really helped me work through a lot of things. And when I read scriptures, I don't worry about getting COVID. I would worry if I thought I got it and gave it to someone else.
She's sharing insight on how we can all support the older people we care about.
Call. Most of the people in my building do not text, but pick up the phone and call just for a few minutes and say, how are you? Do you need anything? I'm thinking about you. I love you. You don't have to be nose to nose to do things. But it's important to keep in touch with other people.
Mueller is taking in the beauty all around her, determined not to let this time, no matter how difficult, pass her by.
The biggest part is just having faith that things will get better. And we have to have that hope. If you lose hope, you lose all, I think. It's just wonderful.
When it parked outside the church,
Jason Green met his wife Katie as a teenager as they worked fast food.
She did no work at all, and I did a lot of work. She just sat on the countertop and watched me work, and then we started dating then. Yeah.
True. That was good.
Jason is the kind of guy who has always known what he wants.
I was a fire explorer with the fire department when I was 16 years old.
Now he's the EMS chief for the Overland Park Fire Department, celebrating 27 years with OPFD, a husband of more than 20 years, and father to 2 girls.
I don't know if it was a gut instinct, but I just knew this is going to be big and this is not going to be good.
One by one, the whole family contracted COVID-19.
Started with a cough and a little fever, felt achy and tired, and then it just went to the point where I didn't want to take care of myself anymore.
As the girls recovered, their mom and dad had to go to the hospital. Katie went from encouraged,
and now they know what it is and they'll get the right treatment and we'll get this going,
to scared.
this is not happening. This is, He's not the age that this was supposed to be happening to. And
it's very difficult to try and work the next 30 years of advice and parenting you have for your children into a 2-minute phone conversation before you're intubated. And I basically told everybody goodbye.
Jason was on a ventilator for 18 days. One of them, his wife's phone rang.
You know when the hospital calls you and you're in this situation, that it's probably not good.
The nurse said she may want to prepare for the end.
I'm 45 and I'm going to be a widow. And I said, we need you. The girls and I need you. And I talked to him as much as I could for the little while I was in there, and told him he's going to just have to start fighting harder because it's not looking good. And soon after that, I don't know what did it, but he just started turning around.
Although this family survived, it was a fight.
Your battle's not over, even when you live through COVID.
A lot of people get very sick from COVID that don't die.
Now, the Greens want to raise awareness about just how dangerous the coronavirus is and encourage people to take every precaution.
When you choose to live in a community, you have an obligation to other people in the community.
While you may not get very sick, somebody who you love may.
At one point, Katie was hospitalized too, leaving their 2 teenage daughters home alone. But that's where Jason's fire family came to the rescue.
I've heard so many stories about what was happening and what people were doing, to support my family.
And they took turns sleeping out in the driveway in their trucks so that the girls would never really be home alone at night.
A kindness in the middle of crisis Jason can't comprehend how to repay.
You can't. They really rallied around my family, and I appreciate that for sure.
We know that we are handed a miracle. He did not have very good odds of living, and they told me to come say goodbye. They did not see this turning around. And so my takeaway from this, and where I think it probably changed me and probably Jason as well, is that we know that we were given this gift.
Asia, Eric, Shirley, Jason and Katie, and Tony shared their stories with us this summer.
It's people over profit.
And it just all kind of stood still. So it was just really surreal.
Our whole world changed just immediately. Boom.
He was on a ventilator for 18 days.
When the going gets tough, the real leaders step up.
Now, 5 months later, we decided to check in and find out how each of them are doing, starting with our COVID survivors, Jason and Katie Green.
Fully back at work and don't appear to have any residual effects, so my lungs are checking out good, my heart's checking out good.
I mean, we've been reporting on first responders getting kind of hit hard by this. Is that something that you worry about as somebody who's managing firefighters and fire crews out in the field?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're really working hard to make sure that our crews are safe. Clearly the threat is real. Clearly we need to take actions to mitigate that threat. And, we've done that. We continue to do that. But it's definitely something we view as can be a threat to our organization, not just the health of our people, but also potentially a threat to the service we provide.
So as soon as next semester rolls in January, we're going to be rocking and rolling again.
Although the Lowrider Bike Club is only meeting virtually, Eric Arazo says he's excited to be part of launching The Spot next month.
Basically a free community center in partnership with the Olathe School District, Johnson County Mental Health, the Department of Corrections, and the Olathe Library.
What can I get for you today?
Brown Sugar Chicken and Donuts is still open for business.
What was the feeling when you got to look at your brother and say, in spite of the year that 2020 has been, in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic, we made it?
It was a blessing. I mean, I teared a little. So excited that we finally made it to that 1-year mark. It was just our goal from day one. There was times where it's like, is it worth it? Is it, but with the support of the community, honestly, that is really the only way we are here, is our community. In Kansas City, I have to thank you guys. I can't thank you enough in words for coming and supporting us.
Hello.
Dr. Tony Zink was honest about her experience the past few months.
It's been exhausting. Everyone is tired. Just trying to have that support system that you need around you. And your children, I really do have empathy for everyone who's going through this, because we're going through it together. There's been a lot of loss, there's been a lot of heartache, and we're going to have to mourn that.
Shirley Mueller has maintained her uplifting spirit and sense of gratitude.
The Christmas season is my favorite time of year. We do the safe thing with the mask and social distancing. I'm still living my life, but I do it carefully. And Advent means hope. And I think that's so important right now. You know, God is faithful. He's faithful in his love. And nothing can separate me from that love, not even COVID.
Each of the Rebound 5 have some hopes for all of us moving forward.
Honestly, I'm excited about the prospect of a vaccine for people.
We're missing our old lives. We're missing things that we probably took for granted before.
Just to have that grace for everybody and understand these are crazy times and we have to do what we have to do.
Optimism is the only way at this point, and hope is the only thing at this point.
I want people to remember that this is not going to last forever. It's not. It's a season that we're going through.
We are going to get through this.